right, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Tiffany Bisson. I am the supervisor here of the Customer Experience Center, Worldwide Display Graphics headquarters in beautiful Londonderry, New Hampshire. I am joined today with a Senior Application Specialist, George Howe, who will be running the press for you today, as well as Ricky Vescovacci. He is the Channel Manager for Wide Format Worldwide.
So, yeah, let me say a couple of words, Tiffany. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Wide Format Wednesdays on Interior Custom Designs. We're very excited to have you join us today. And with that, we'll go ahead and introduce Roy Ritchie from Dreamscape. Hello.
So Roy is going to be talking us through some amazing products that he has to offer that all run phenomenally on the Pro32R. So with that, we're going to have George start with the demonstration of the press, what he has set up, and then we'll welcome Roy back on to talk about his product and answer any questions that might come up along the way as well. If you missed it in the beginning, we will be accepting questions through the question and answer panel. You guys will see that through the standard WebEx. So we are monitoring them as they come in, so please feel free, ask questions. We want to make sure that this is engaging and interactive, and we want to make sure that we can address any questions that come up, not only with the Pro32R, but in material handling with Roy's fantastic product with Dreamscapes. All right, George?
All right, good afternoon. This is the 32R, 3.2 meter. Right now I have 2 rolls loaded up, and I'm using one of the options of the slitters. Right now there's 1 blade in each, but you can actually put 2 blades, so you can actually take an 8mm section out if need be. Instead of doing 2 rolls up, you can do 1 roll up, put 3 images in, butt them up together, and just trim the middle. So that's one way. That's what I'm going to start printing right now. So right now we're running in the fastest mode available. This is a 2-pass. It's a distance view mode, and it's about 2,220 square feet an hour. So in the carriage, it's Ricoh Gen 5 print heads. There's 7 picoliters of each. So it's a ultra drop. Excuse me. LED curing. Those are 12-watt Phosions. Inside the carriage as well is ionizer bars on either side, as well as crash bars. So if you have a wrinkle or a bad media edge, it'll catch it. It'll stop your carriage. So it'll save you from ruining anything in that carriage. It's
and
very,
George, quickly, I'd like to mention the LED. So it's an instant on, instant off. You can see that they are independent of each other. So when we say that they're rated for upwards of 10,000 working hours, when you're talking about those hours in the form of fractions of a second, they're not a consumable for the product line. So they're running very, very heat. The nature of LED is low temperature. So they're running at about 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can run those super thin, you know, 010 styrenes or things like Lintec without any concern of wrinkling or any sort of buckling due to the heat.
As well, in the platen, there is vacuum holes, so it actually pulls the media down to help you prevent wrinkles as well. So as you can see, as well as doing roll-to-roll, you can let it free fall as well if you just want to do some one-offs and just want to get something off really quickly, a couple prints.
And you can see George is running 2 individual lanes of print. So we are running 2 of the same material, but each material is running, say, a separate job. So you will be able to run independent lanes. And not just 2, you can do 3 or 4 individual lanes as well.
The software supports up to 6 rolls,
so depending on size. So up to 6 individual rolls running individual jobs. And as you can see, we have the slitters set up on individual rolls. If you needed to, say, slit this roll down into 2 or 3 different rolls, and then this roll you only needed to slit down to the 48 inches or whatever the case may be, you can have those independently supported multi-up on the unit.
The one caveat to that is it has to be the same print mode on all the rolls you're trying to print.
So by print mode, he means the same output resolution. So you can't be running one roll in, say, 4 pass and one roll in, say, 6 pass. It has to be the same output. And to that point also, they don't need to be the exact same material. So if you had one material that was blue, one material that was red, as long as they're the same relative thickness, you can run them side by each as well. They need to maintain that same profile. So George, can you talk about some of the options here? Maybe we'll talk about the lighting.
The backlit, that one's actually standard. That comes with the printer if you want to do some double strikes on some clear medias, or even on translucents. You can do inline visual inspection. It's very, very helpful. You're not running off to a light box all the time.
And again, ease of use, ease of accessibility. You have control over your vacuum setting, your tension settings, your lights, everything right here at the touch of a button. Major benefits there is, again, ease of use, ease of accessibility. Some of these things that you might need to adjust on the fly, you're able to do so very easily. The other button that you're seeing over there is we have an onboard mesh kit. So, George, you want to talk a little bit about what that looks like and why it's such an important piece?
Now, within the Platinum, there's a button over there that says wings.
Yep.
So you're going to press that, you'll see 2 little flaps come up, and it'll actually raise this media up. Within that trough, I'll call it, you're going to put an absorbent pad in there.
Yep.
And that's as easy as it is to start doing mesh.
So some of the other competitive offerings out there on the roll-to-roll platform, that mesh kit, if you will, is an external piece of hardware where you actually need to remove the platen, put on this external piece, and then load your material. Over here, you can get your material loaded before you tension it. You're going to hit a button, and the wings are going to pop up. You'll make the necessary adjustment to the gap for that substrate, and then you tension your rollers, and you're off to the races. So it's very quick and easy to do. Now the application... The application there would be for your meshes, your windscreens. You think about watching PGA golf tournaments on TV, and to keep the folks back, there's green mesh or a blue mesh with spot white or spot white and CMYK logos all over it. You can print direct to that substrate online utilizing that mesh kit without getting any ink on the platen or clogging up your vacuum.
There's not a ton of cleanup time for it. You're just avoiding a lot of problems. We've also seen window shade material.
Yeah, great point.
Various ones.
So the shades that you see behind the printer actually, you can print direct to those, so there would be that type of an application that you would be doing on the unit.
So as well as the standard backlit mesh, there's also a built-in wrinkle analyzer. So if it's within the carriage, if it senses a wrinkle, which you can set the sensitivity to that, if it comes within that tolerance, it'll actually pause the carriage. You get a prompt in your software. It'll ask you, do you want to stop, or do you think you can fix it, or is it going to come out of it? You can continue. You'll hit OK. You can actually raise the carriage up if need be. It'll actually take care of your bidirectional as well, so you're not worried about having a distorted print if you have to raise the carriage a little bit. So that's an awesome feature. It saves you from striking heads. It's really preventative. It goes hand in hand with the crash bars.
Right, exactly. What's a really great benefit with EFI as a whole, if you're looking at us as an ecosystem, we're looking at entry-level products here. People that are maybe just getting into the market, maybe they have a couple of smaller, slower roll-to-roll units and they're looking for an increased throughput. We have a huge portfolio of offerings, this being just a part of it. What we're really good at as a whole is taking our super high-speed technology, this stuff that's thousands of square feet per hour, and coming up with ways to scale back that technology to bring those offerings to the wide format and the entry-level product line. A lot of the technology that George is talking about with the wrinkle detect, and he'll talk about it in a minute with double-sided printing, you know, how we are able to make that more seamless and utilize the advanced technology from the super high speed and bring those offerings down to the entry level. It's been a really, really great product for us because for the price point, the applications that you can do with all of these standard features, if you will, are really a differentiator for us in the market, especially when you're talking about a go-to mode of like just under 1,000 square feet per hour for a lot of the applications. So that's a big, big benefit with the 32R.
So also, if you want to break into even more markets, the optional white. It comes standard as a 4-color, but you can get white, and that gets you into white over, white under. It gets you into 3-layer, color, white, color. You can do day-night backlit. It can also do 5-layer over here as well.
So talk to me about that 5-layer capability. What does that structure look like, and what would be the application for that?
5-layer is color, white, black, white, color.
Okay.
You can do 2 totally different images on either side. So if you want to hang one from the ceiling, you can do it just as easily. You can't see through it. It works really well.
And then if you're talking about a retail marketplace, right? You're walking into the store. It's got the store hours. Thank you for coming in, and then as you're leaving, thank you. Come back again. You can have separate images. Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly. I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera around to the back so you can see what the in-feed looks like. George can talk you about the rollers, what loading substrate looks like really quickly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to switch over after this run to a super exciting product that Roy is going to talk us through. We're going to look at a sort of funky lime, it's called limelight, right? A limelight material. It's very sparkly. George has a really cool white file that he's going to run on it. We can talk about how that gets set up through Fiery XF, and then we'll bring Roy on to talk about some of the other products in his portfolio. Go ahead, George.
So as you can see, I've loaded 2 rolls up on the same roll. Excuse me. I've got a little support, so if you have 2 full-size rolls, it'll keep the deflection down. You can keep it nice and even. It'll feed in nice and even, as you can see right here. So this roll supports up to 450 pounds. And it's very simple threading. You're just going in under that roller, over, and in through the printer. So waste is really minimal. And you can run this right up to that pinch roller. You lose about probably 2 feet, 3 feet tops.
Excellent. And George, would you say as far as material handling and ease of use, this is probably a one-man operation for the most part?
Yes. Everything you see done today was done by me, by myself. It's a one-man show.
Excellent.
I mean, a 3-meter roll, I'm going to say, get a roll lifter, you know, keep it safe, don't bust your back. I call it common sense principles.
Excellent. Now, on the front, we are running free fall. You can see that the edge trimmings are gathering on the back side of the press in a nice, clean format. What you would do and what we would recommend is that if you were running this in production, obviously you would be going to your take-up roll for those larger runs, and you can just have catch basins catching the trimmings, if you will. Major benefit, and I'm not, if this is a duplication of what George already mentioned, I apologize, but the big benefit to being able to run free fall is that when you are just getting into this business, you might have onesie, twosie customers that just need, you know, a couple posters or banners for the baseball field or for the basketball court. You can say yes to those jobs without having to worry about excess waste for setup. To George's point, you're going to have the material make it to that pinch roller in the front. and then you can start printing right away. So it's about 18 to 22 inches of waste on the front, but you can say yes to those short run jobs. And then with the efficiencies of running multiple roll and the weight capacity on the infeed and the take-up, you can also say yes to those big production runs and feel confident that you can accommodate both situations.
So I've stopped the printer because we are out of material on one of them. We've run approximately, in the short time we've been on, about 130 feet.
Excellent. So great time to go ahead and show you what a material changeover looks like. We'll off-feed the splitters. We'll take off the 2 rolls up. You can see the material ran absolutely beautifully. No wrinkling, no buckling. In-feed cores were great rolls. They didn't cone. They were nice and tight. So again, really, really great product with the Dreamscapes. While George is changing over, I'll go ahead and invite any questions that there might be. And again, I'd like to point out, one-man band. George isn't making this look super easy because he's been doing it for a while. It looks super easy because it is indeed super easy. You're going to just snap off the slitters in the front. You're going to go ahead and cut off the prints that you've completed. You will then go ahead and loosen up those nip and tension rollers, both in the front and the back. So what you can see George working on, he is removing the collars. The collars are going to be what helps keep the material feeding in straight and nice and tight, removing the opportunity for any sort of coning or anything like that. So again, this is the Limelight product from Dreamscapes. It's going to be a bit, you can see it a little bit in the camera now, a bit of a flashy bling specialty application. It's a little bit iridescent there with a pattern in the back. So George, as you're webbing that up, can you go ahead and just talk us through the roller system, maybe talk about the curtain e-stop as well?
So this ripcord right here, if you have any problems, you can actually stop the printer. Very good safety feature. I've never had to pull it, thank God. And also, if you're going to feed the media in when these rolls come together, over here is a reflective beam, so if your hand actually crosses it, it'll stop these rollers. So that's some pretty good safety features. As you can see, it's very simple just to load media.
And as a side note, they are working on, they're in the R&D phases of introducing a foot pedal. You can see that loading the material is quite easy. However, to make it a little bit easier for the operators, maybe somebody with a smaller wingspan than George, they'll be able to activate that nip roller while holding on to the material utilizing a foot pedal. So now you can see George getting that material up around the platen behind that front pinch roller, and then he'll go ahead and activate that pinch roller. As he does, you'll be able to see the minimal amount of waste that's executed while loading this substrate. And I was just made aware also that you guys are the first lucky recipients to actually lay eyes on this product outside of Roy Ritchie's facility. So this is a top secret launch sneak preview, if you will, of this product.
Okay, so with this material, the automatic media sensor won't pick won't pick it up because it's reflective. I believe they are RDing a sensor that will pick up clear medias and more reflectives.
Yep, they have actually just released that on the 3 and 5R and the 3 and 5R Plus series. So back to my earlier point, it will be making its way downstream in no time. George, can you talk them through how you would set up for a printing with white application in Fiery XF?
So with the 32R, this is where the difference between the 3 and 5R comes into play. This is embedded in the 32R, which makes it super easy to just, your workflow is a little bit easier. So I'd actually go into Fiery, I would actually import a job. Select my job. I'm going to apply a workflow. On this case, I'm going to take white under. I'll import it. This is a spot white, so I'll turn it into a spot white.
And for folks that maybe aren't familiar with how you can set up to print different modes with white, in Fiery XF, George has a file that we created a shape white or a custom spot white ink layer where we're telling it where we want to have whiting to mask the material, and then where we want the material to show through and utilize it as sort of a special effect. If you're not familiar with how to do that, we have some options built into Fiery XF where you can have Fiery evaluate your image, and Fiery will decide where and how to handle the whiting. So there's a bounding box option which will just put 100% flood behind your entire image. There's an inked image option where Fiery XF will look at your file and pixel for pixel back it up with white ink. And then we also have the inverse of that, where Fiery will look at your file and only put white ink data in the areas that contain no ink. So for this one, George is going to do a shape white under the CMYK, so a 2-layer application where we're going to allow the material to show through in a controlled environment, and then utilize the super opaque white ink to mask that glitter effect that you're seeing on the substrate.
So this material is so new, I have no settings for this at all, so you'll see me do bidirectionals, you'll see me do tension, you'll see me do a little step.
So while George is working through that, so every time you load a brand new substrate such as this, you'll need to run a bidirectional test, which is setting the velocities in which the jet is fired for that mode, and then this step, which is how much material gets advanced after each pass. Once you have that dialed in for this substrate, you can save it in the software so they become quick sets. So you can get back to them immediately the next time you load the roll, and you're not going to have to go through that setup process.
Which, if they can see on the screen, I'm doing it right now. I'm actually
So he's going to save that quick set right now.
Okay, so now I'm going to import one of the jobs. There is a spot white. I'm going to bring it in, I'm going to select it. You can also step and repeat with this software. You can mirror, you can rotate 180 as well. So this is really robust software as far as you don't have to step and repeat and fire it if you don't want to. It just makes things a little bit easier.
It prevents you from having to go back to pre-pass or going back to Fiery XF, re-ripping, and then re-importing to the print control. Right at the print control, you can step and repeat, and to George's point, you know, some of those pre-press functions without having to re-rip anything, as well as adjust modes. Just remember.
So as you can see, the change over time from 2 rolls up to 1 roll up to going right to white printing is very minimal.
And again, you can see it a little bit better as we're only run one roll. But the carriage is only traveling on the area of the platen that contains print data, and the lamps are only on over the area of the print that contains the print data as well. So there's no unnecessary wear and tear usage of your lamps, and no unnecessary travel of the carriage as well.
And also, if you run into a problem media and you think it is transferring a little bit of heat, in this software you can actually send the carriage to travel a little bit further past to give it a chance to cool down, get control. As a lot of printers cannot do that. That is one feature that carried over from a 3 and 5R.
So what you're looking at here, 2 layers in a single run through the printer. We're running a shape white, getting laid down first, and then getting backfilled with the CMYK image. And again, this is the Dreamscapes Limelight debut for this product, if you will. You guys are the first ones to see it. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and ask Roy, again, president of the Dreamscapes product line, to come on back out.
Thank you. Hello. So thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you EFI for inviting Dreamscape to come out and be part of the demonstration here today. Before I get to Limelight, just going back a few minutes, you saw one of our products called Sandblast printed. I'm going to pull this over a little bit.
Sure.
So my job today is to talk to you just a little bit about what we call commercial wall covering and the types of applications that you can do with print technology like this. The Sandblast product, which you saw printed earlier, is a typical commercial vinyl wall covering. And I'm going to make a distinction here between commercial wall covering. The digital market is a little bit like the wild, wild west, I like to say. And you know, there's all these evolving technologies. We have people taking all kinds of different products, putting up on the wall, which is neat and inventive. But if you're going into a commercial property, there could be certain characteristics that the GC on that job or the fire marshal for that building is going to need to see. And that's sort of where our product comes in as a specialty. So just to distinguish, a lot of you may have experience with doing wall graphics, and perhaps in the past you've worked with a paper. There are paper products out there. Some of them are coated papers. A lot of times they're latex saturated paper. Gives the paper a little strength. A lot of people do printing on what they just refer to as vinyl, essentially a sheet of PVC. Usually those have a self-adhesive on the back. There are also what they call non-wovens, which are essentially a fabric that also could either be applied to the wall, sometimes with a self-adhesive. All those are great ways to do graphics on a wall, but not necessarily the best way to do a commercial wall covering project. And by commercial, I mean applications like restaurants, museums, hotels. They're going to be looking for an added level of durability. They're going to be looking for an added level of flame and smoke certification. I'm not going to bore you with any of that today. So just talking about the sandblast specifically, I'll hold this up. Tiffany, if you could come in here and get a close look. So one of the things Dreamscape does well is we offer vinyl films that have a texture on the face. And we've got a whole range of textures. If you're familiar with Dreamscape, there's about 30 different products. The one that I brought today is called Sandblast. This is a Type 2 commercial wall covering media. It's embossed with a heavy stipple, as you can see. And it features a bold and deep texture. So how would you know that you had something that's quote unquote a commercial wall covering? Well, one of the easiest ways to look at it would be to just hold it in your hand. It's going to be thicker. You're going to feel it. And it should be multiply. What I mean by that is it's not just a thin piece of film. It's usually two pieces of material put together. So in the case of Dreamscape, we've got a vinyl on the face that we put a coating and a texture so that it can print and so that it also looks interesting. And on the back, there'll be a fabric. And the fabric is married with the vinyl face, makes the product very durable. It also allows glue to be applied and put onto the wall. So how does it compare to wallpaper? In simple terms, there's really not much paper about it. You can't tear this product. You won't puncture this product easily. It's very washable, very cleanable, and that's what makes it so special for these types of applications. So I'll talk a little bit more here about the Sandblast. So it's a 2-ply, I mentioned that, 20-ounce weight, scrubbable. We get exceptional printing quality with UV. All of Dreamscape products can be printed with latex, solvent, UV. That's one of our goals, to make them compatible for the whole industry. But there are definitely some advantages with UV, especially in the way of durability. And we've had tremendous success with EFI and ViewTech machinery. We do some production and a tremendous amount of testing inside of Dreamscape.
And you have a few of our products on site as well, right?
Yes. We have, I think you're hard to hear your mic. We have a 3R Plus, which is very similar to this machine. I think essentially the big difference that I understand it is maybe faster. It has some other bells and whistles, but honestly, this is my first personal experience today with the 32R. From what I've seen, I mean, if you want to be in making commercial wall covering, obviously it runs our product really well. One of the things I look for is the ability to print white ink. That's huge. I mean, with the Dreamscape brand, we've got a whole slew of products that are sort of in this special effect category. If you can see it on the camera, but they're reflective. It's okay, Tiffany. They're different reflective surfaces that we have, different type of metallics, silvers, golds, and you know, you can print on these with color, but it's really cool and really interesting, as George is demonstrating, to sometimes layer them with white ink. So that's what you're seeing here in this demonstration. Now, the Limelight is one of our 3 newest products. It's in a holographic category. So there's, it's a holographic look. In the case of Limelight, you're seeing that rainbow of color. And as you can see, George has picked some graphics and he's using white ink to basically obliterate the background, but let it shine through where he wants it. So you're seeing the little bird here. You can see that the Limelight material is coming through, but on the background, you're not seeing it. And then down below, we've got another graphic where he's letting the effect through, but he's also using the inks in the machine to sort of change it. You could on the side, you can see the naked material, but then you see the red and how the effect of the red is still allowing some of that holographic effect to come through. And this is really critical and really, really interesting for designers. So designers and creatives who are working with commercial wall coverings love to have these options, especially in the commercial market where, again, you know, a lot of applications that we see are museums, high-end retail stores, it could be a nightclub. I mean, I think we could all imagine this product on some walls in Vegas. So switch this, oh, we got limelight. You guys are ahead of me. So target markets, I've mentioned some of these already: hospitality, retail, commercial applications, trade show, design and architectural firms, always looking for something new, always looking for something creative. Key applications would be, again, I'm repeating myself, but high-end, exclusive custom wall graphics. So we're not just taking a plain, flat surface, we're adding texture, we're adding some sort of special effect, and we're allowing people to be creative, and that's what they're looking for. Nightclubs, casinos, theme parks, big with theme parks, trade show booth, kiosk design, eye-catching point of purchase, obviously movie and television set. I've got some real-world examples I can pull in here. So we got some photos here of, these are real-world applications that were done with sandblast. Sandblast was one of our white vinyl textures. Again, we've got a whole selection of white vinyl textures, sandblast just being one of them. I don't have any real-world applications yet with limelight, quite frankly, because it's so new. We're just starting to ship rolls now, and as Tiffany mentioned, today is the first time anyone in the world is seeing it print, so I'm a little excited about that.
And I think your mention of the nightclub application, I mean, anybody can see how that would be an awesome, awesome effect to have at a high-end club.
Yeah, I have almost no doubt that we're going to end up seeing it in some nightclub in Vegas. And maybe we could all go together. Check it out.
You know, just to build on that, Ray, even the cruise lines, I can see that because they have casinos, they've got discotheques, they've got bars, so I could see this application also being very heavy there.
Everywhere, everywhere. We have a saying that there's a lot of walls out there, so there's so many opportunities to cover things with graphics. And that's why wall covering sector inside the digital industry has really been growing for years and will continue to grow. So just to finish my thought, a couple of applications here. We've got a Hyatt that's using our sandblast as a feature wall graphic. Sometimes people will put branding elements to it with a logo. Sometimes it's just an interesting graphic. I believe this is actually someone's home. They just wanted to have a funky wall, maybe in their kitchen, or I don't know. It's not my house, but it's interesting. And then this, I believe, is a apartment shared space where they set up a little game room. So, you know, feature walls, signage, graphics, anything that could be attached to a wall is kind of what we're doing.
Talk to me about some of your standard sizes, Roy. I mean, what are you seeing in the industry as a common?
Well, so Dreamscape's been around for about 14 years. When we started, I was a little naive. I had a whole huge selection of widths that I thought we needed. But the truth of the matter is, for commercial wall coverings, which is pretty much our niche, 54-inch is very standard. We do offer a few products at 60-inch, and then we offer one product in particular out to 75-inch. Okay. But beyond 54, it gets a little more difficult. 54 is sort of like this width, right? So an installer can kind of handle it.
Yep.
A lot of times they're working on teams, but some of these guys are good. They're working on their own. And 54-inch just becomes a very convenient size. Yeah.
As that relates to the printer, obviously you can be running multiple rolls up. Built into Fiery XF, as I'm sure you know, we have a really super easy to use tiling function. So in Fiery XF, you say I have a wall that's 20 feet wide. You're going to divide those panels out as individual tiles up to that 54 inches wide. And the printer has the capability, which is obviously very important in the wall covering application, where you can label those tiles, you can leave love notes for the installers, making sure that they're overlapping where they need to, making sure that they're pairing the tiles up appropriately. So again, that's a really super easy thing that you can do on board at the press. You don't have to worry about breaking it out in pre-press as well.
That's very important. Good point. Yep. So George has got some more white printing going on, and I mean, as a wall covering guy, I love white ink. That's, to be honest, that's sort of what got us into looking into UV years ago.
Yep.
And the technology just keeps getting faster and better and cleaner and sharper.
So while this is running out, I'm going to go ahead and transition the camera into one of our demo conferences rooms right over here. So you can see we actually have your Dreamscapes Flash wallpaper printed with CMYK white ink as well as clear. We have a brand new, almost 300,000 square foot facility here, our new display graphics headquarters. And every stitch of wallpaper in this entire facility is done with Dreamscapes. So proof is in the pudding, right? It's a product that obviously EFI can stand behind wholeheartedly. But also, I mean, you've paired with us. You have our gear on your floor. So that partnership really speaks huge volumes. It's a great product that you have. Runs great on our products. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll go move the camera into the conference room, and you can maybe talk about Flash.
Sure. So what you're going to see in a minute is a product called Silver Flash. I was talking to Stacy a little earlier. She's giving me a little history on that wall. I believe, I don't know if it was printed here. I know that the art had something to do with Four Walls, a company called Four Walls. Obviously, they are a EFI VTech partner, also a good customer with Dreamscape. And they have a geometric print. Oh, there you go. Geometric print. And what's really nice, the lighting in that room, you're seeing the reflection. So that is starting off just as a silver base. They're using a little bit of ink. The designer, whoever set up the file, could be creative, and they could put more ink down or less ink down. The inks themselves are somewhat opaque, so the more you put down, the more of the effect you cover, and the less you put down, the more that shows through. But it's, I like that the camera is actually picking up. You see in those blues, and in person it's even more impactful, of course, but you're seeing what's essentially a metallic blue, something that couldn't be done otherwise. So that's why we have lots of options in this special effect area. We've got a gold, a silver, a bronze, a copper, and some weird, really crazy things like the holographic that you saw today. Thanks.
30F next month, September 18th, where we're going to showcase our new flatbed 5x10. I wanted to make sure that we announce that as well. Thank you very much, Roy. Thank you, Tiffany, and thank you the whole team for coming here today and joining us during the Wide Format Wednesdays.
And they are being recorded, and we will make them available to anybody that's interested. We'll get some links out for the finished product within a couple of days.
Beautiful.
So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Roy. Thanks for coming in. It was great to work with you.
Thank you again.